G'day, Ben from Melbourne here, and we're back after a bit of an absence of the interviewing the VC series. And today, if the VC was the sea and my channel was a boat, we've caught a big tuna. That's right, you can see him there. We've got the Mazdog, the Mazeltov cocktail, the human Maserati, Mazzacapone, Mazzio. These are all names he's never been called. But it's the bloke who works from his home in Seattle for the San Francisco Tourist Bureau, the one-man Raikuta channel, the big kahuna, Norman Maslov. Welcome.
And in honor of you, I'm wearing my Akubra, which is the series of hats, the company from Australia. Basically, maybe it's the equivalent. It's the Australian Stetson. We're Stetsons from Texas, America. This is the Akubra, and it's one of my favorite hats. I bought it at a hat store in Seattle, and it's my only Akubra, I think. And it's kind of a nice, deep, dark blue. I love it, And in honor of you, too, because I know you always wear the flowery, bright shirts. I wore one of my favorite, Paul Smith. I'm a big fan of stripes.
Yes.
So I don't know, blue and yellow is probably some baseball team or football team color. I don't know. Go Blue Jays, by the way. Fuck the Dodgers. That's all I'll say.
I'm just going to nod and pretend I know what you're talking about.
It doesn't matter. Basically, if Vinyl Richie is watching, fuck the Dodgers. Okay, I'll leave it at that.
Okay. Any chance to get under his skin? Excellent.
Exactly. No, it's just when I'm not a big sports guy, but I grew up with baseball in San Francisco, and San Francisco Dodgers. God, that's a Freudian. The San Francisco Giants and the LA Dodgers, they've been rivals forever because going back to Brooklyn and New York, and the Giants fans, basically, we want them to win, but if they don't win, as long as they fuck the Dodgers or the Dodgers get fucked, that's all we care about.
Excellent. No, I've had a sharp learning curve with baseball because my wife's Japanese and we go back and visit her family every year. And so baseball's the big sport over there. And so my side's the Honshin Tigers. So got to get in good with the father-in-law.
Japanese team?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you mind if I have a drink? In the tradition of, I don't know if you know Aaron, the metal theologian, he does a lot of these kind of soda pops and specially flavored drinks, not alcoholic. And I decided I rarely buy a soft drink. I don't drink soft drinks very often, but when I do, it's more in the root beer Dr. Pepper, that type of flavor. So I picked a Fentiman's Cherry Cola. Very rich, got an interesting aftertaste. So I might get parched because of the intensity of your questions here. So
yeah, many have folded, so it's a good idea. So I'll explain what happens. We do 12 questions plus one bonus question. 6 of these questions, Mazzy's had a chance to pre-prepare, and then he's on the hot seat after that. And then, of course, we always have a bonus Australian knowledge question, which has brought many a person undone. And I'll award you points whether I see fit or not, if the answer is worthwhile. This is the part that seems to annoy people is I say I award points and then they get all uptight about who got a point and who didn't get a point. And like all good English game shows, the points are irrelevant, really.
Can I answer the Australian question now before you even ask it?
Well, you definitely will break tradition by doing that. That's the supplementary question.
Priscilla, Queen of the Desert.
I like your enthusiasm, but you're not far off. All right, let's get into it. Now, question 1. This is the big one. This is going to say everything we need to know about you. Justify your YouTube VC existence, and then show us a record that supports this and why we should watch your channel.
I don't have to justify jack shit. Okay, that's one thing I'm going to say right off.
I felt that coming.
I present what I present. The music first, obviously the vinyl mostly, but CDs too. It's the music first. Pressing second. That's the thing. People will get me or they won't get me. I try to bring in a little wry sense of humor sometimes, a little sarcastic attitude, but I'm serious. I like to tell stories. Some people will comment, get to the point. What's the guy wearing a fucking hat inside? All that kind of shit. I don't have to justify any of that. I do it. It seems to work for the most part. People get it or they don't. So that's the answer there. That's enough to say. I don't have to justify. None of us do, really. I don't think. In terms of showing a record, there's so many records, and of course, it's well known. My love and my generation growing up, and the thing that changed me from Little League baseball one week till Sunday Night Ed Sullivan, the Beatles, and listening to Meet the Beatles, buying that album. It changed my direction in life, literally, really. And, I could pick a Beatle album to represent that, which I did. But I decided I like to tell stories. And I would say a third of my channel or a quarter of my channel tells personal stories, me growing up, when I first heard the music, when I saw an artist, when I bought a record, when I fell in love, when I fucked, whatever I did, when I traveled somewhere to, for the first time to London.
Yeah.
I'm going to show a Butcher cover. And the thing is, I had 2 Butcher covers up till very recently, and I sold the better one. I'm at that point in my life. I don't need multiple copies of things. And even if an original is more collectible and I have a good reissue, I'm fine with that. At my old age, I can do that. Now, the reason I show this, you can see there's a piece of plastic, it's taped over it. And this wasn't even as good as the other one, this Third State Butcher cover. But this was given to me on my birthday, on my 19th birthday, by my girlfriend at the time, Judy. And probably my first love, definitely. I'm 19 years old. We'd gone together since I was just turning 16, so 3 years. I never had a Butcher cover till this time. It wasn't as easy to get in those days. They weren't, you could steam them off and everything. And the thing is, even though this wasn't the best one in my collection, I sold the better one, she wrote on it. She wrote this beautiful kind of heartfelt, direct thing. I don't have to read it again. I've read it part in other videos, but I kept it because there's emotion. Now, I have no idea where this woman is right now. And most of my old girlfriends or relationships I know, and we're friends, but I don't know where she is. But this was a time, 19 years old, that amazing time in your life. This represents a lot about me, my love for music, the artifact, I guess, in this case, over the music, really. And everybody knows the story of the Butcher cover. I don't need to tell that. So that kind of represents me and my channel to some extent.
Nice. Yeah. That's interesting because of, as you say, you sold the one which probably would be of more value to a lot of people and was in better condition, but because of that, and that seems to be a dividing line too in the VC a little bit, of people either want pristine things, or you have people like, Dylan from Noble Records, who bought all those records from that Radio America, I think it was, and he loves that it's got all that information written on there and that, and it's good. And I like to ask that question, justify your existence, like, and I half expected you to say I don't have to justify shit, but sometimes, because that's a pre-prepared one, some people, like, they have a bit of time in between to do it and they stew on it a bit, because I'm not sure everyone knows exactly. They just start doing this because they think, oh, I could have a go at doing that, and and they kind of makes them think about why they do what they do. So I always
again, when I say these kind of things, I sound like I'm defending myself. Like, when you have, as you grow, as your channel grows, I should say, you get a handful more naysayers and trolls, and I get my share. That's fine. I don't mind it unless they're vicious against me or my guests when I have guests. But thing is, usually they're hidden behind a fake name, fake icon, and come up and do it yourself. Let's see how easy it is. Not that it's so difficult, but it's not just liking and loving music and collecting records like we do. It's your presentation. And again, it is a taste thing. People get me or they don't get me.
Yeah.
They like, I mean, take a band like Oasis. They like Oasis or they hate Oasis, right? We'll leave it at that.
Yeah. That's all. Usually my response is like, well, if you've got all the answers, why aren't you
Turn the
making a
channel.
video? Yeah, exactly. All right. We better move on to question 2 because we could rhubarb on for ages on this. And the next one's pretty easy. Show a record that I like.
Well, I think if you don't have this record, don't know, you should have it because it's punk. And I know you kind of like punk music. This happens to be a band from Ohio that really recorded and got known, very short-lived, in Seattle in 1992. And this is the Gits.
Yes.
And the Gits were on Sub Pop. This is a very recent, this year, repress from Sub Pop of their first album, which is a bunch of songs they recorded separately, singles, I guess, EPs, put together. And I'm going to give up. I hate to say this. I hate to give him any fucking credit whatsoever. But again, Lionel Richie comes into play because I didn't know the story of the lead singer, Mia Zapata, and she was brutally raped and murdered. And for years, for like a decade or so, they didn't solve the case. They finally did. But I don't want to dwell on that. But this is a good record. And this is actually a good sounding record. It doesn't sound so outrageously like hardcore punk. But it's real. And it's this period of, is more, I'm learning living in Seattle for 11 years now, the whole Seattle scene, the grunge. I'm not a big grunge fan. I just tell you that. But I like the punker stuff, which is like, the Mudhoney's, the Green Rivers, Slater Kinney down in Olympia, that kind of stuff. And I just love this record. And I never had it, and I had never heard it. I heard of them, but when I saw it being reissued, and it's a lovely pressing and highly recommended. But I think you would like this if you don't have it or don't know it.
Yeah, it's a great record. I do know it, and I was really it was really cool to see that it got reissued because in some ways that horrible story had overshadowed how great they were for years and years, and thankfully the music's still out there. And it's I don't actually own it, to be honest, but I am very familiar with it. I had it on a TDK 90 on one side of a tape, and I think I had Slater Kinney maybe on the other side. Might have been.
Is that what you guys say in Australia? You always say like TDK, good day. It kind of TDK. No, I can't do that.
TDK. You just that was terrible, but well.
Tomorrow never knows. Oh, that'd be TNK. Okay.
I best say we'll just pretend that didn't happen and we'll move on to the next question. Okay. I think I'll give you a point for that. Good band. And I should follow up if I can get that, because I've heard good things about that reissue. But you've stumped me. All right. Number 3, what is the most unusual item that has been included with a record you own? And it can be what was a legit part of the package or something a previous owner had left in there.
Well, the one I really wanted to do, there was a record I was looking for decades, and I didn't want to buy it online. And I found in Portland, it's Donovan's HMS. What's it called? HMS something or other. No, I'm blanking out. It's a children's album, double album. It's only available in the UK or in Europe, not in America. And I never see it. I never ordered it. So I find a copy in Portland. The next day in Portland, I found another copy, and which is weird. So I bought them both just because I never see it. And I figured I ended up giving it to someone, but the copy, and I can't believe I didn't take it. I totally forgot. And now I don't remember who I gave it to, but there was an envelope in it with a name written on it. And the envelope was sealed. And I opened it up and it looked like it had never been opened. It was inside the record. And it was basically, I'm so sorry. I love you. I hope we can get back together. So basically someone gave someone this record and never opened the letter. And this was like, 25, 30 years ago. So, but I don't have it, so I can't show. But I want to show this because this is one of the weird ass package. I love this record. I'm a big fan of Super Furry Animals. This is Griff Rhys, one of his solo albums. This album is called, what is it called? Babbles something or other. Babelsberg. And instead of scoring and folding the record, it's one fucking long unscored record. And so, you know, the record's in here, and, you know, it is kind of inside an area, so you can't push the record all the way through, but it's got this sort of metallic cover. You can see that.
Yeah,
but it's
amazing.
got the coolest fucking illustration of our fearless leader in Jesus Christ. But it's just like, where do you put this fucker?
Yeah.
Like, so it's not really that came inside the record, although there is an insert and a poster. But see, it's like to get it out, even it's like it's bizarre. I keep it like on top of this section of records there, and every month I have to take it out to dust it off because the top gets all dusty.
Yeah. So how did they have it in, like, because they couldn't really put it in a bin in the record store?
I think this was one of those ordered directly from them only. It was a special edition.
Yeah.
So I get all the Griff Reese's records.
Yeah.
And I believe it came in a big flat, like an art flat, you know. Type of, I recall. What year was this? This was 2018. So look at that.
That's excellent.
I think it's kind of cool. It's like, what the? Are you kidding me? And as much as I kind of hate it, but I love it because I hate it so much, or hate it because I love it so much.
It would have cost a fortune for them to put together too. It's really good.
It's got this metallic, that kind of moire pattern thing where you see the colors when you do it, and you know. Anyway.
Nice. Well, that's a solid 3 points. 3 from 3 now. Smashing it, Mazzy. Now, question 4. What is the worst record by your favorite band or artist, and why do you have it? And we don't like sob stories on this show, like I'm holding on to it because my grandfather put it in my hands on his deathbed kind of shit.
It's a sob story, you know. I mean, my favorite band, obviously, my favorite 3 bands, those who watch me know, are the Beatles, the Kinks, and the Byrds. And in terms of the order, the Byrds and Kinks always switch. They're about the same. And I love the Kinks. I love Ray Davis and his writing. And they did an album at the very end, almost the very end of their creative output. They did a live thing at Conch Studio CD after that. I don't think it's been on vinyl, but this is on Sony Music, Columbia. It's terrible. And this is the Kinks' Phobia. There's a couple good tracks. It's very hard rock and stuff. You know, every time I pull it out, someone says, "Oh, you hate that? You got to listen to it again." I pull it out, listen to it, and it's more generic than the Kinks should be, in my opinion. Okay. So for what I want in the Kinks, this is terrible. Some people may like it, and it's a big triple fold cover. There's Ray and Dave, maybe? No, I don't know. Lyrics, everything, you know, it's what a good Kinks record should be, but it disappoints big time. But I am a Kinks fan, so I get all the Kinks records. That's why I have to have it. And I don't have to justify that either.
I have everything up until Misfits with the Kinks. I really like them as well. But yeah, didn't venture much past that.
Well, there's some good stuff in the MC or the after post Arista years too. So there is some good stuff. So
yeah, I think that, you know, this is just too easy because if you're gaining points by just saying you don't have to justify any of your answers.
Right.
So 4 from 4. What are we up to now? Okay. Tell us a story of the most unusual or funny thing that has happened at a gig that you have attended or even played.
Yeah, I was trying to think about this, and I was trying to think about actual gigs, and then there's gigs that wasn't really unusual, but I would meet because I was in the record business or I knew people. I'd go backstage, and remember the Winterland 78 Bruce Springsteen. We went backstage and I met Bruce and the band, you know, like with a bunch of other people, not like, let's go hang out and get a burger, Bruce, you know. But instead of doing that, because I've met people working with Warren Zevon's a great example of the story, but I decided to do one of my gigs since I'm not really a musician, and I just did a video on my garage band in the late 60s, and for my bar mitzvah, my parents gave me 1967 fall, September, in the summer, a blonde Fender Jazzmaster guitar. I had the St. George guitar, which was like a battle axe. You could hardly, it was some cheapo. I don't even know who made them, but so I got one because my parents had friends who owned a pawn shop. There were a lot of Jews in the pawn shop business in those days. And they got guitars coming through and stuff. And it was a secondhand, but guitars don't matter, as you know. And it was probably a 1963 or 64. And this is 67, so it's not like vintage,
Yeah.
And I loved it, but I was slightly disappointed because being in San Francisco in 1967 with the psychedelic bands or the British bands, Jazz Masters and Jaguars were surf guitars. They weren't cool and hip. That was like a fucking Beach Boys surf guitar,
Yeah.
And I wanted, I didn't know what I wanted, but they just gave it to me. And it was a beautiful guitar, and I had it eventually worked on. I eventually sold it or traded it in the 70s for a Strat. But this is the guitar. This is me and the guitar right after I got it. Beautiful guitar. If I had that guitar now, I mean, look at that, right?
Yeah, they're worth a fortune.
Yeah. I mean, 10 years later, groups like Television, Elvis Costello got all these, all of a sudden the big Jazz Masters and Jaguars had a comeback.
And then Jay Mascis from Dinosaur Jr.
Yeah, so many bands. That whole the altar, and then this is me on stage with it. And actually, I feel like I'm wearing the same shirt. I am wearing like a Beach Boys shirts, which is probably not cool even for that. But so we're playing at that show, that last show where I'm on stage, and it's at it's a Catholic girls' school dance. Guys were there, but it was a girls' school in a church, or a assembly hall off the side of a church in San Francisco. And I'm coming down after. It wasn't during the show, and there's like those kind of staircase that slip into that cut into the stage, and I slipped. I hit it, and I put a big gouge in the bottom. And thing is, it was pristine in those days, and it had a gouge. So looking back on it, I would remember being so upset, and I had that gouge, and I thought about how do I finish this? But cut to what, 30, 40, 50 years later, they fucking make guitars like that look like they've been banged around and look like Jimmy Page, beat his kids with his guitar, or what? I shouldn't say that. But to do these, the whole whacked up guitar thing is vintage, is distressing it, fake faux distress. That's the whole thing with the guitars. And I was worried about a little fucking thing that big on the edge where it just chipped the paint off.
Yeah. Excellent.
That's my story.
My guitarist in my band, when we play, he tends to he's got a solid body Rickenbacker. And one of his tricks is he likes to accent by hitting my cymbals with the neck of his guitar. And I'm like, go for your life. The cymbals will win every time. And he's got chunks all out of it up the neck from years and years of doing that. But he loves it. All right. I reckon that's passable. You'll get a point for that.
Thank you.
Not bad. Not bad. It is distressing, though, when you're young and you have this beautiful new thing. Totally different. I did the same to my brother's cricket bat on Christmas Day when he got it. And of course,
it's like the first nick you get if you get a new car, that first nick.
And it was me who put the first dent into it. And so I was not talked to for a few weeks after that. Okay, this is the last of the pre-prepared questions.
Okay, I'm parched. I'm going to take a drink here.
Go for your life. So number 6 is show your favorite music-related fruit or vegetable that's not a banana.
The Granny Smith apple.
I can't believe nobody's done this until you.
Really? I mean, they picked. I mean, later, obviously, Let It Be and they did red apples and stuff. But the model, the prototype, the model, whatever you want to call it, of apple they picked for Hey Jude and then the White Album was the Granny Smith. And this is a CD comp of, I think this is, as I recall, they did a thing or a promo record EP called 4x4 by the first 4 artists on Apple. Mary Hopkins, Billy Preston, Jackie Lomax, Badfinger. Maybe that's different. Someone's going to correct me and jump all over me. That might have been James Taylor who was the first one, but this is kind of like that. And this is a 4 EP with Those Were the Days, Mary Hopkins, That's the Way God Planned It, part 1s and 2, because the single was a B-side flip, finished the song. So it's 5.5 minutes. Which is interesting because Hey Jude, 7 minutes, 11 seconds on one side. So whatever. Sour Milk Sea, the George Harrison song by Jackie Lomax, and Paul McCartney's penned Come and Get It by Badfinger. So it's kind of a nice little, this is one of those CD promos, not particularly rare or anything, but
yeah.
Obviously you wanted to see an apple. So here's an apple.
Yeah. I used to like when I was a kid with the, I think it was the Beatles Blue I had in the late 70s, early 80s, and it would have, like, when you would flip it to the B-side, it would have the apple in half.
Yeah, so the B-sides are always cut in half. Yeah, that was always. They changed it later, like when John Plastic Ono Band, they just did a lighter. It almost looked like one of those, what do they call them? Certain kind of apples that are almost whitish or off-white. I forgot what they're called.
Oh,
I'm not good with fruit.
I
just picked up an apple at a store. I was at a couple weeks ago. I picked some apples up, and they had jazz apples. I had never heard. I was
just going to say.
I'd never heard of jazz apples.
We have apples that I think you'd love. Yeah, we get jazz apples all the time.
I had no idea. I don't think I've ever heard of it. And there was a produce woman there in the air. I said, "What are jazz apples?" I'm kind of intrigued. She goes, and she has she pulls out a knife. She goes, "You want to buy a taste?" So they could buy it. I bought a few of them, but I never heard of them. I said, "What?"
They're nice.
Like, well, are these the kind of things after you smack? Or what's the deal here? She kind of laughed and she kind of like groaned, I should say.
Yeah. Well, I discovered when which I didn't know about, which had grown over here, when I was looking for a question for Cosmic Brian, they make an apple, or they grow an apple over here called the Cosmic Crisp.
Oh yeah, I've heard of those actually.
Yeah, which I was unaware of. Okay, that was excellent and some cool promotional packaging there. So now we get loose. So I feel an impassioned defense coming up, followed by a bit of a political backpedal, because this is the one that divides people. This is that's right, the Van Morrison one. Apologize for liking Van Morrison, or celebrate your dislike of Van Morrison with me.
I love Van Morrison. Now, I think he's a wanker. He's been on my wankers list a couple of times. I do a musical wankers list every year. He's been on it 2 years running, but that was more with the, brooding old man. In fact, he was the last live show I saw before lockdown. He played at in Oakland, California, at actually a jazz club, which is great. Played 4 or 5 nights. Love Van Morrison. I like his 70s stuff, and then hits, and there's other stuff I like on Polygram that he's done. I absolutely love Van Morrison records. Bit of a wanker, but at least he's a consistent, grumpy old man. I've seen him probably 6, 7 times, including the last waltz, and so I have no problems. It's easy for me to bitch about him. I see where he's coming from. I disagree with some of those political stances and things, but I love his music for the most part. But he puts out to this day, he's almost second, just behind King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard, whatever. He puts out like a record a year or something.
He does pump them
Gizzard
out.
does one a month or something. So.
Yeah. They actually played an awesome rave gig for free here the other weekend, which was off the hook. Yeah, I really like those two Them albums. I love that hard, gritty R&B sound that they had. And then for me, he crawls up his own ass too much after that. And to me, it's just really self-indulgent. I didn't like the way he changed the way he sang. To me, he sounds like a frog with a sore throat. And he scats. I hate scatting.
It's not easy being green. And he did that song.
Kermit's better.
He did that song. No,
and there's this like self-importance about him, which I just can't stand as well. Like, he's a real artist. disregarding all of his bullshit with where he stands on the lockdowns during COVID and all of that, just his self-importance just comes across like it's very unflattering. I just can't stand him. And as a bald man, these dudes who have the little fluff and try and comb it over and
that's
pretend
bullshit.
they've got hair.
I agree with you on that, but
just get it off, man.
Obviously, Astro Weeks and Moondance are classics, but to me, the great one, probably, and I go back and forth, is St. Dominic's Preview. I just think that's an amazing record. So, but I like, I'm a fan, so I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. Well, because this show is completely biased, you don't get any points for that question at all, because we're here to spread the dislike of Van Morrison on my channel.
Okay.
But not a bad defense. Not bad. Okay, but you didn't Sam St. John nearly swayed me. He was like that I come back to my senses like in the next question. So.
Right.
I'm not. Yeah. Anyway, let's move on because we might have to make this a two-parter the way it's going. Right. Now, this is one of those ones which might do your head in. Put these bands in order of legends, overrated, underrated, and one that you have to wipe from the face of the earth. So think about the consequences of that too, because of all of the bands that they would have influenced wouldn't exist either. And the point of this is none of these bands is it easy to put in each category, because when I do this question, they're all bands that I know that the person who I'm interviewing likes. So you've got Jefferson Airplane, Grateful Dead, Sly and the Family Stone, and the Beau Brummels.
Well, first of all, they're all great bands. I think Beau Brummels have become so underrated. They're influential. I mean, the Beatles influenced them. They were the first American band that really kind of answered it, but they weren't as big as the Byrds. The Byrds would be the next year. But end of '64, Laugh, and just a little, I guess. From
this is the classic Mazzy pivot while he was sorting them out.
But from San Francisco, and what's interesting that Beau Brummels was produced by Sylvester Stallone, not Stallone, but Sly Stone produced
that would have been something else.
Yeah. To me, okay, Sly and Family Stone they're spot on. They're a great band, classic band, influential as hell. I think they have their due, so they're not underrated. Jefferson Airplane, I think, has become underrated over the years. They were like the big breakout San Francisco band, but I think a lot of people don't think about them like that anymore and don't take them seriously because the last few albums, they kind of like self-imploded and put out some mediocre crap, and
a lot of this city on rock and roll hurt them.
Yeah, well, that's okay. I'm going to take off the table Jefferson Starship. Fuck them. There's a few good things. That's a whole different thing, especially the LA song, "We Built This City." It's not even a thing. I love Grace Slick though, and Marty Ballin.
Yeah.
But to me, the Airplane, as people who watch my channel know, they had two great singers in Marty and Grace. They had two good singers with Yorma and Paul Kantner, who are like the George Harrison sing that in that level of goodness, and great songwriters, great band, the best band live, even better than the Dead initially. The Dead obviously overtook them. The Dead obviously you can't deny. Now people either like them or don't like them. I think in terms of new records after maybe Wake of the Flood, Terrapin Station, I don't know. I don't really like, even though I have all those studio albums, Go to Heaven and stuff, and the Shakedown Street, I don't think they're great records. And they became like not great songwriters, I thought. And what the fuck with the Grateful Dead? When you hire a new piano player every few years when they blow up, get one who can fucking sing. Because Brent Midland is like the worst fucking froggy singer. They never got a good fucking singer. Get another singer. Got Jerry, who sings well. Bob Weir's okay. They need another good singer. I'll leave it at that.
They could get Van Morrison in.
Right. Anyway, that's it. You picked all Bay Area bands. Was that coincident?
That was intentional.
Okay.
So, how are you rating them? So you've got legends.
Oh, I should rank them in order of them.
Which one? Like, so you would have to say which one
Oh,
gets the
each one
legend
has
rating.
to be a category. Okay.
Which one's underrated? Which one's overrated? Which one are we getting rid of?
Oh, we can't get rid of any of them, so just forget that. We're throwing that out. Beau Brummel's underrated. Great. The other ones are great. I'm not like giving them a number because you can't. Music is not a competition.
Look, you're just busting out of like the parameters of the whole thing.
Oh, I can't believe I'm the first one that said that. Am I?
No, people have done their nut in thinking about this and saying how cruel this question is because they're their favorite bands.
It's not cruel.
And
It shows the stupidity of the questioner, but it's not it's not a cruel question.
You might have me there on a technicality.
Did I ever tell you I hung out with an Australian band when they were recording in San Francisco at a recording studio? You probably maybe have heard of the Dingoes.
Yeah, Broderick Smith.
Elliot Mazer had who produced Harvest, Neil Young, and some stuff. Had a studio called His Master's Wheel, and he was recording them there. And I met them one night.
Yeah, their first self-titled record is a bit of an Australian country rock classic. And Broderick Smith, who he became a solo artist, he's now sadly passed away, but he's the father of Ambrose Kenny Smith, who is in King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard.
I had no idea. See, I learned so much here.
There's some extra information which nobody needed to know, but I would recommend checking out that first Dingoes record. Okay. It's really good. Okay, you're doing really well. We're up to question number 9, and you're on 8 points. Now, we kind of, I can't remember if we sort of spoke about this before we recorded or not, but we're talking about presentation and style. And like you, formerly being a representative of photographers, what I want to know is the look and style as important as the music in rock and roll? They very much go hand in hand.
The look and style of the artist and presentation?
The whole enchilada.
Okay. Well, absolutely. But it can go in different directions. Obviously, I'll just take, since I'm in Seattle, the grunge thing. Now, living here now, I understand why everyone wore plaid and Pendleton for those years, because it gets it's not even, it's funny. People think it gets cold here, but compared to Minneapolis and New York, and it's not that cold, but it's dark and dreary for 4 months or whatever.
Rains a lot, is that right?
I'm sorry?
It rains a lot, is that right?
Yeah, but like right now it says, like last week it said it was going to rain 7-8 days in a row. And like today was one of those days. Look at that. I mean,
that's nice.
You know, it probably will rain for 2 or 3 hours and the sun will come out. It'd be beautiful. It's not like it's constantly. We're not talking about Noah's Ark, 40 days and 40 nights of nonstop rain. And the summers, people don't realize it gets in the 80s and 90s. It's for 3 months. It's gorgeous. So that plaid thing was a look. I see why they did it. It was a necessity more than actually them dressing up style. Living here, obviously 11 years now, most men in Seattle dress like shit. They just don't give a crap. It's like, give me a fucking break. Like, wash something, dress up a little bit, get a little style of some sort. So I feel like I overdress. I mean, I don't get dressed up all the time, but I feel like I overdress here compared. Like in the winter, I have a long overcoat, like you'd wear in New York or even San Francisco. A wool overcoat or whatever it is. You never see guys dressed like that. They'll wear like those bubbly fucking.
I know what you mean.
You go camping. What do they call it? Puffer jackets.
Yeah. Well,
REI.
I don't know if you have it over there, but one of my annoying things, which has become a thing here in the last few years, is people just wearing active wear around.
Exactly. I'm sorry.
The things that you would wear if I'll guarantee 99% of these people aren't going to or from a gym, especially by the shape of some of them. And they usually got their latte in their hand and their hair beautiful and all that. And it's like, it's become a real thing here.
Well, I go back to the Beatles, right? Okay, even before Brian Epstein put them in suits and they bowed and they had that old, the velvet collars. I love that. But before that, they all had the leather jackets. It was like the Gene Vincents and the Elvis Presleys. That's a style. That's a choice. The hairstyles are a choice. You can get into the deeper things like Bjork and David Bowie, who really kind of are like chameleons and change all the time. I think music can be theater. There is a thing like, going back to the Grateful Dead. What embarrassed me, there was a period of time in the Grateful Dead touring. It might have been the 80s or late 70s, probably the 80s, and I don't know why. I think he should have been arrested and thrown in Alcatraz, is Bobby Weir, young Bobby Weir, Pretty Boy Weir, started wearing Izod shirts and shorts. Fucking, who you think you are, Angus? What is his name from
Angus Young?
Remember that?
Yeah,
I don't know if you know that.
I do.
Oh, horrible.
Yes. Yeah, so, I had the scary experience of, God, it must be over 10 years ago now. I've seen Neil Young 3 times, and one time when he played here, he headlined what was the festival called the Big Day Out, and I went and saw his sideshow, which was an open air show, My Music Bowl, and that weekend was really hot. It was like over 40 degrees both days at Celsius. And I was pretty much directly in front of Neil in the front row, and Neil come out in shorts, which it was hot, but those legs had not seen light for a long time. And they weren't exactly long shorts either. They were. Yep. You don't want to be below a bloke wearing shorts and being able to see up. I'll just put it like that.
Now, there is something like with the whole Americana thing. You see, like, Jeff Tweedy dresses like crap, and whatever, and the bands are just whatever. MJ Lenderman, they kind of he looks like it's normal guys in college or something. Yeah. And again, nothing wrong with that. John Mayer, college guy. To me, rock and roll should not mix with sports. When I grew up, rock and roll and sports were like left and right. Now I know it's the same, different thing, and I sound like an old man yelling at the clouds, but rock and roll is a different thing than sports, even though I like some sports.
Yeah, that's one of my pet peeves, is how everything now is, he's the rock star of cooking, or he's the rock star. It's like, no, fucking rock stars are rock stars, not these people. Anyway, I digress. I think that I agree with you, because when I think back to when I initially got into music, it was the visuals first. It was looking at my uncle's, before I even heard half of his records, was just looking through at the covers and the pictures of the bands or whatever the image was. And for whatever reason, there were certain ones I gravitated to straight away. And that happened to be like things like the Beatles and Black Sabbath and things like that, just based on the way they
looked. At bands, look at the whole mod thing with Kinks and the small faces, Carnaby Street, before it got more commercialized, but those clothing boutiques, or even the what's the store that started Sex, which the Sex Pistols were at, and Malcolm McLaren, all that kind of stuff. I mean, there's a style thing, even though it may not look specifically stylistic. Blondie, take any band. I think that visualization, you remember them, and the Beatles, like the Stones, they evolved. I mean, look at all this stuff. I mean, when Sgt. Pepper came out, all of a sudden they had these mustaches and facial hair. That was totally new. Like 6 months later, they look totally different.
Yeah, exactly. They changed a lot in a small amount of time.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the next one. I'm going to give you a point for that. That was an excellent answer. We brought this genre up before. So number 10, country rock. Why should we care?
I think you should care about any genre. Any genre has validity. So you're picking country rock here. It comes out of rock. It's an area of rock. Of course, I've said this again. I keep going back to the fucking Beatles, because you listen to the American version, especially of Rubber Soul. It seems acoustic. It seems sort of folksy country. I like that crossover stuff. Even them doing Act Naturally with the Buck Owens song. They're going to put me in the movies. I Don't Want to Spoil the Party. They wrote it. Sounds like a country song. Stones, Country Honk. And, Girl with the Faraway Eyes, country music. It's like anything else. There's great country music and there's terrible country music. And it's like every fucking genre. People's Head exploded 2 weeks ago when I showed a Dr. Dre record. They didn't expect that. And and that comment that someone said, you don't live the culture. You don't deserve to talk about that. I've never been to India. I love Ravi Shankar. Give me a fucking break. End of answer.
Yes, no, excellent. I picked country rock in particular. Like I love a lot of that stuff because I know that you like it. And actually, we brought them up earlier. I knew of the Beau Brummels, I think, initially because they appeared on either those Nuggets comps or one of those kind of things, and that was how I knew them. And yeah, from watching your channel, I discovered Bradley's Barn, and I ended up last time I was in Japan, I found a copy of it. So I was and it is a great record. It's really underrated. It should be more well known.
And it bombed. I mean, in a way, also that same year. I mean, a few months later or whatever, or before, Sweetheart of the Rodeo came out, and really didn't set the world on fire either.
No.
But it was influential. Graham Parsons, Clarence White.
Yeah, Sweetheart of the Rodeo, even though probably didn't do as well like how Beau Brummels sort of bombed, but it seems to have had that longevity in the long run, and people have forgotten about.
People cited for a lot of influences.
Yeah. Cool.
But Lionel Richie hates it. I'm gonna keep.
He doesn't like. Oh, okay.
He hates Sweetheart of the Rodeo unless he's changed his mind. I'm talking to you, Rich.
Okay. Now, you preempted this one kind of, and I also, because this has come up recently, is
Dingoes.
Why do you dig hip hop or dislike hip hop? And I think we know the answer.
Yeah, I like some. I mean, what I said in that video, I tend to like the more, I just say chill stuff, but the crossover with jazz and soul, like the Jazzmatazz, the Diggable Planets, all those bands that were doing the Blue Note, the S3. That kind of stuff. I'm not a big of the really heavy misogynist stuff, although Dre is there. But that album to me is a pivotal album because of the mashups, and I think the as I said the secret sauce on that album is Snoop Dogg. There's a smoothness to his voice, and I know that record from back then. I know I don't show that because I don't really buy into a lot of that stuff. But they're all, the neo soul stuff I enjoy more. Segment of that, Fugees. And someone said I said the name of the band wrong. It's basically like refugee. That's it. Fugee. Pay attention. I said it right.
I'm not say Ray Davis a few times as well.
Ray Davis. There we go. I'm getting this bolt of light here. Like I'm getting the Shroud of Jesus or something.
It looks very film noir because you have a few lines.
Can you convert this whole thing in black and white before you post it? Come on.
I'll get accused of ripping you off.
Like I invented black and white. It's so funny.
People do lose their minds when you do that, which is quite funny to me.
That's part of the pleasure,
Yeah. Like I obviously on my channel I show a lot of mainly Australian and some New Zealand stuff, and a lot of it is punk and indie rock and things like that. But I do my age, I was like in late high school with what they call the golden era of hip hop, and it was a lot of that East Coast stuff like A Tribe Called Quest and De La Soul and even Public Enemy from New York, and I love a lot of that era stuff. And it took me a while in the 90s to get my head around the gangster rap off the West Coast, and I was mainly attracted because of the sounds. And the other great thing about being into hip hop at that point was I was still fairly young, and when you're at a certain age, you don't want to know about music which came before. You're into what's now. Like that was what I was like. I always wanted to hear the new thing, but a lot of hip hop actually, as I went along in it, pointed me backwards because a lot of the samples that they used made me like discover your Sly Stones and James Brown and Parliament and Funkadelic, and got me pretty much I'd say Tribe Called Quest was what opened the door for jazz for me to get my head around that. So
well,
I really love that
in the
era.
90s. I mean, Blue Note was smart. Instead of going after some of this sampling stuff, they started putting out comps of the original versions of those songs. And people, you're right, people got into Watermelon Man by Herbie Hancock and all these other Horace Silver, which Steely Dan ripped off in the 70s. Ricky was that number, so
yeah, it's cool. Like I got so much other stuff that I should actually do some videos which feature completely different stuff, because I have a big dub, ska, and reggae collection as well, which I absolutely love. And believe it or not, Japan in Shinjuku, there's a store called Dub Store which just specializes in all that stuff, and they have the licensing to reissue Studio One stuff, as well as that they there's so many I've never, because the Japanese are fussy, and one of the things with original reggae records is they usually beat to crap. I've seen some OJs in there which are just pristine. And taking quite a few home with me. It's awesome. Okay, we're up to the last question, number 12. We've brought him up a few times, but this is a tradition. We're talking about Vinyl Richie, and we need you to do, in your best Vinyl Richie style, his iconic intro of "Hello, everybody."
You ready?
I'm ready.
Hold on. Okay, one moment.
Wow. He's really taking this seriously and getting into character.
Hello, everybody. This is Vinyl Richie. Go Dodgers.
Yes.
I've done quite a few. I didn't get the vocal right this time, but I've done quite a few collaborations with Richie. I shouldn't say this. I always joke around. I say I adore Richie, and there's certain people I say, if Maslov likes you and you're one of those certain people, it's like bad street cred.
Yeah.
If I say I like the Metal Theologian, or if I like Vinyl Richie, or some of these people that are kind of cooler and the hipper kids in a way, like, forget it. I'm like middle of the road in comparison. Yet I have a broad taste in music. People just don't seem to get that, or some people
don't worry. Vinyl Richie, he gets away with a lot. He shows some things which, like, if you think you know what he's about, he'll show some things.
He loves Art Garfunkel.
Exactly that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Wait a second. He's not going to pop up here like everyone else? What the fuck?
Yeah, unfortunately, I did have team up that he just couldn't do it today, and I was like, "This is the one. This is the
Richie, one." Richie, you disappoint.
Yes.
Fucking Dodger fan.
It's probably watching baseball.
Well, it's tonight's last game. We're recording this on Saturday. Tonight's the last game.
Ah, okay.
And whoever wins tonight wins the World Series.
That's very, very true. Okay, that is all of the regular questions. You've done really well. 11 out of 12. Failed miserably on the Van Morrison question, of course.
Oh, come on.
So, and now for the bonus Australian knowledge question.
Oh, God, yeah. Okay.
Okay. What are the names of the 3 Australian states or territories that the Simpson Desert covers?
Homer.
What? You just kind of say random words.
Homer Simpson. You never heard of Homer Simpson?
I know who Homer Simpson is, but he's not responsible for that desert.
I have no idea. I mean, I'm not going to get this one. I mean, I did see Walkabout. I did see Picnic at Hanging Rock. I'm going to go. Yeah. I'm pivoting to Australian stuff. I did see the one with the naked women, Sirens.
Yes, I know. Yeah.
With the naked artist, and of course Priscilla. That was my question, my answer earlier.
Yeah. You seen Wake in Fright?
Pardon me?
Have you seen Wake in Fright? The 70s film? Okay.
No.
You probably like that. That's got a very young Jack Thompson in it, and it was made by, I think that was made by Nicholas Rowe, who's the English director. Often a lot of good Australian films are made by outsiders who come in and we don't like it because it shows us what we're really like.
Oh God, I'm blanking on it. What's the famous woman? Did she make the piano? The Australian
Jane Campion.
Jane Campion. Yeah, I used to see all her movies. I mean, yeah. No.
So you're not even gonna just say random state names to just see if you can land a few.
No.
Well, you're not gonna get the points, obviously, for the bonus question.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
So what are the answers?
The Simpson Desert covers Queensland. You heard of Queensland?
Yeah,
that's where the Saints are from.
Isn't that where all the beaches are and stuff?
Up on the coast, the Gold Coast in that sort of area. Which, well, there's beaches. I would argue that Western Australia has the best beaches because it's more untouched and not as touristy.
I've heard.
South Australia and Northern Territory, so like sort of the middle of Australia. So the Northern Territory's up the top, and so is Queensland, and South Australia is sort of down the bottom part. So it's a huge area it covers. I've got some facts for you here. You might have to convert these into American miles because I don't know how all that shit works.
I can do that.
We live in the future here. We're a day ahead. We use metric. It covers a total of 176,500 square kilometers.
That's
and
76 miles.
And it's only the fourth largest desert in Australia. The biggest is the Great Sandy Desert, which is a huge 267,250 square kilometers. So that's why we all live on the edges here, because the middle's all desert pretty much. So that's just blown your mind, hasn't it?
Wow. No, I realize there's large desert areas that are, I mean, do people live out in all those areas?
There are people, but it's not, most of the population lives on the east coast, which is like, it's where, Brisbane in Queensland and Sydney in New South Wales and down here.
And you're in Melbourne, right?
Melbourne in Victoria down the bottom, where we're closer to, like, Tasmania's below us. And from what you said earlier, sounds like we have a pretty similar climate to Seattle. It's like the old thing, 4 seasons in one day here.
It could be. I mean, growing up in the Bay Area, the Bay Area to me is the most moderate part of the states where there's no seasons really. But here now it's beautiful. The leaves are orange. It's kind of like East Coast because you grew up in the Bay Area, you don't understand seasons and leaves turning. I mean, they do fall off in certain areas, but you don't get that beautiful amber, yellow, orange, red color like you do. Up here we do. But the Bay Area could be like 90 degrees in January or in San Francisco, and then the next day, 55, literally. In the same afternoon, the fog could roll in and drop 25 degrees on the same day. Here, we're further north, and the hottest part of the day is 4 to 5 o'clock, because we're so far. And tomorrow, once we set the clocks back tonight, at 4 o'clock, it'll get dark, and which depresses a lot of people. That's why they all wear those fucking plaid shirts and start grunge bands and have the highest rate of overdose and suicides in rock and roll history, the grunge bands.
Well, I think that's a great positive note to end on here. Thank you so much for your time, Mazzy. That was really good fun.
It was a pleasure, Ben. I love this. We've done another collaboration before. I like it. I enjoy your company.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I think I overcompensated a bit that one.
Yes.
But I will get over there one day once you get a new president. Let's just put it like that. Controversial, I know, but
it's not. But it's not controversial.
Shoot arrows from a distance.
Yeah, well, I'm leaving it at that. I'm not going to respond.
I have heard some horror stories. That's all from Australian tourists recently. So anyway, we won't get in there because we'll have another hour. Thank you again. And if anyone wants to sit in the hot seat like Mazzy, please hit me up and we'll make it happen. Cheers, and we'll see you in the next one. Thanks, Mazzy.
Thank you.